When we think of ancient Egypt, we often imagine silent pyramids and lonely ruins in the desert. But in its own time, Egypt was alive. Cities rose beside the Nile, boats moved across the water, fields spread across the riverbanks, and temples stood at the center of a civilization built around order, belief, and power. The Nile was the lifeline of Egypt. It carried people, food, stone, messages, and trade from one part of the kingdom to another. Without the river, the desert would have made large-scale life almost impossible. With it, Egypt became one of the most enduring civilizations in history. Along the river, towns and cities were filled with movement. People walked through mud brick streets, merchants sold goods, workers carried baskets, animals moved through crowded roads, and the river remained visible in the distance. Ancient Egypt was not only a land of monuments. It was a world of daily life. The temples were among the most powerful sights in the Egyptian world. Their massive gateways, decorated walls, obelisks, columns, and statues were designed to inspire awe. These were sacred spaces, but they were also centers of wealth, authority, ceremony, and royal identity. Inside the temple, rituals connected the human world to the divine. Priests offered incense, food, prayers, and symbolic objects before sacred images. To the Egyptians, these acts helped preserve cosmic order, known as Ma'at, and maintained balance between the gods, the king, and the land. Beyond the public monuments, elite life could be refined and beautiful. Wealthy homes and palaces included courtyards, painted walls, shaded areas, gardens, water features, servants, and decorated furniture. These spaces reflected status, comfort, and a culture that valued order and beauty. The riverbanks were full of work. At busy docks, boats arrived with grain, jars, papyrus, stone, and goods from across the kingdom. Workers unloaded cargo, merchants negotiated, and storehouses received supplies. The Nile connected economy, transportation, and royal control. The true wealth of Egypt came from the fertile valley. Irrigation channels carried water into fields, farmers worked the soil, and animals helped with agricultural labor. The contrast was dramatic: green life beside the river, and dry desert just beyond it. Markets reveal the human side of ancient Egypt. People bought and sold bread, produce, pottery, cloth, baskets, fish, tools, and household items. These streets were noisy, crowded, and practical, the ordinary heartbeat of a civilization often remembered only for its kings. At golden hour, Egypt must have looked unforgettable. Stone walls glowed in warm light, palm trees cast long shadows, and the Nile reflected the sky. The landscape itself became part of the civilization's identity, a meeting point between river, desert, city, and sacred architecture. Behind the grandeur was administration. Scribes recorded taxes, harvests, land ownership, temple goods, royal orders, and labor assignments. Writing helped Egypt manage a complex society across generations, turning information into power. The monuments of Egypt depended on skilled hands. Artisans carved statues, shaped stone blocks, painted reliefs, and refined sacred images. Their work transformed belief and royal ambition into physical objects that could survive for thousands of years. Building Egypt's great monuments required organization on a massive scale. Workers moved heavy stone, prepared ramps, followed measurements, and coordinated their efforts under supervisors. These projects were not simple acts of strength. They were achievements of planning, engineering, and discipline. Papyrus helped Egypt preserve its memory. From administrative accounts to religious writings and literature, scrolls allowed ideas and records to travel through time. The written word became one of the foundations of Egyptian power and continuity. Elite banquets displayed wealth and social status. Food, music, jewelry, decorated rooms, fine linen, and servants created an atmosphere of luxury. But these scenes of comfort depended on farmers, craftsmen, scribes, and workers throughout the kingdom. Most people lived far more simply. In domestic courtyards, families prepared food, baked bread, stored grain, cared for children, and completed daily tasks. These ordinary spaces rarely became monuments, but they were the foundation of Egyptian life. Egyptian craftsmanship could be extraordinary. Goldsmiths and bead makers created collars, bracelets, amulets, and ceremonial objects with careful detail. Jewelry was not only decoration. It expressed beauty, status, protection, and symbolic meaning. Royal life on the Nile combined movement and spectacle. A ceremonial barge could carry a ruler, priests, or sacred objects past crowds and temples. On the water, power became visible, reflected in gold, banners, music, and ritual order. As the story turns toward the world of tombs, ancient Egypt becomes more mysterious. Artists painted burial chambers with gods, symbols, and scenes of the afterlife. These images were not decoration alone. They were part of a belief that life could continue beyond death. Mummification and burial rituals were performed with care and reverence. Priests used linen, incense, vessels, prayers, and sacred objects to prepare the body for the journey ahead. The goal was not fear. It was preservation, protection, and the hope of eternal life. Even in the final stretch of this story, the Nile returns. Farming and irrigation sustained everything: temples, tombs, cities, kings, and ordinary families. Every monumental achievement depended on the land, the river, and the labor of people working season after season. Funerary chambers reveal how deeply Egyptians thought about memory and eternity. Sarcophagi, canopic jars, folded linen, amulets, and burial goods were carefully arranged to support the deceased in the afterlife. Death was treated as a passage, not simply an end. Beyond the cities, desert tombs and necropolises guarded secrets in stone. Rock-cut entrances, painted chambers, and buried objects turned the dry landscape into a sacred memory field. The desert preserved what the living world left behind. So, what did ancient Egypt really look like? It was not only pyramids. It was rivers and farms, cities and markets, temples and palaces, scribes and artisans, royal ceremonies and hidden tombs. It was a complete civilization built around life, order, memory, and eternity. History is never truly gone, it lives on through the stories we tell. Subscribe to the channel and join the History Storytellers for cinematic history documentaries and journeys into the past.